Hello and welcome to Ethical Manu, and in this video we will continue our discussion on different aspects of Bhagavad Gita. So chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita basically talks about considering armies at the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So it is about the situation of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and the two sides, that is the Kauravas and the Pandavas, were observing each other on the battlefield. So on one hand we have Arjuna and his colleagues, and on the other hand we have Duryodhan, Bhishma Pitama, Dhritarashtra, and so many peoples as a Kauravas. So these two sides have different considerations about each other. Kauravas on the other hand were thinking about the strength, the battle strength of Arjuna's, whereas Arjuna and his colleagues, they were thinking and they were considering different aspects, like what is going to be the result of this war if they would fight it. Because Arjuna, although he was an enlightened person, he had a great vision, but still he was confused of his duties. What are his duties? Being a Kshatriya born family, his duty was to fight the battle. So this Mahabharata, the entire scene of battle of Kurukshetra, was designed in such a way that the arguments and disarguments in that entire scene would be beneficial in some way for the entire society. So here the discussions between Lord Shri Krishna and Arjuna in that battlefield gives you that perspective of how to deal with the problems of life, how to deal with the different aspects of life. So this entire scene was created in that way. So when Arjuna was standing in front of the armies of Kauravas, he was thinking that all these people who are in front of me are actually the kinsmen, these are my relatives. Although Arjuna was a great devotee of Lord Krishna, he was an enlightened person, he had all control of his mind and senses, but still he was confused of his duties in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So when he was confused of whether to fight the war and not fight the war, because he find himself in this dilemmatic situation that whether to fight it or not. Now why he find himself in the situation? Because he had different consideration in his mind. So first consideration was, which was against fighting the war, was that if I would fight the war, the result would be that I would lose all my relatives, I would lose my teacher, I would lose my pretty grandfather Bhishma Pitama and all my relatives, because ultimately it was his kinsmen, it was his relatives, all these Kauravas. So if he would fight the war, these people have to be killed, and when they were killed, even if he win the battle, what is going to be the sense of that? Because ultimately he would basically end up winning the war by just losing all his relatives. So he was thinking in a way that what is going to be the essence of that kingdom if I would lose all my relatives. I would be enjoying my kingdom without having these people, so it would be a kind of defeat for him. Celebrating something without having your own people is like a defeat, and he was considering this thing, and that's why he basically think of not fighting the war. But when you talk about the second consideration, that was to fight the war, Lord Krishna enlightens him that you are Kshatriya, you are someone who is born to fight for the right cause. You have to fight, this is your karma, this is the karma which you have to do at any cost, no matter whether you lost your family members or not. So this dilemmatic situation was something which was going on in Arjuna's head, and he find himself in the situation. So it was Lord Krishna. Then he approached to Lord Krishna, his spiritual master, and it is given in Bhagavad Gita. Then whenever and wherever you find yourself in such kind of situation where you're not able to find the solution, where you find yourself in a confusing state, always approach to your spiritual master, always approach to someone who is Krishna's conscious, who is able to understand you and can get you out of that problem. That is very important. So one thing which we can understand from this scene is that whenever you find yourself in problem, always approach to your master, always approach to your mentor who understands you better. Because when you understand the relationship between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, That was a master and disciplic relationship. So Lord Krishna chose Arjuna, in a friendly relation. He chose Arjuna as his friend to understand him better. And when Arjuna, chose Lord Krishna as his mentor, as his master, he starts talking to him like a master. Now that relationship is very important. So in the real life, you should always have such a master, such a mentor that can understand you better, and to whom you can share your personal problems, to whom you can seek the answers of your question. That's very important. Lord Krishna also enlightens Arjuna that you should not quit your life like animals, like other creatures other than humans, because human life is very important. Human life is the most valuable asset, and it should be utilized in such a way that it will benefit the other human and non-human things of this nature. Now in the real world, when you see around yourself, you'll find people who are well knowledgeable, but their knowledge only extends to this body, and beyond that, if you see, there is a knowledge of spirit, matter and soul, which is more important than this knowledge of body, because this body will vanquish someday. Something which will not vanquish is the soul, is the spirit. So it's more important to have the true knowledge of these two things. Something which will last long will give you the wider perspective than something which will not last. Body will someday will vanquish, but the soul will remain forever, and that is given in Bhagavad Gita, that this true knowledge of soul matter is more important for the liberation. It's more important for the science of self-realization. So if you understand the human life better, you have to understand this true knowledge of soul and matter. So that's it for this video, guys. Till the next time, stay tuned with Ethical Manu. Thank you.